Hi there. This time it will be story about vegetation. It won't be tutorial per se, more like a experiments. Maybe I will try to share some of my knowledge about that because I spent a lot of time experimenting with the shaders, different methods. In general, vegetation, because it's nice to have the dense vegetation. The problem with dense vegetation is it kills your performance. So there are many ways to kind of deal with it. There are not perfect ways. Have some ways I would like to show you for the trees, for the grass, maybe bushes. They are not perfect. I think I said that already. Maybe there are other ways. If there are other ways, ping me, tell me that, because I would like to know. I will do a few experiments. It will be mostly improvisation because I didn't prepare anything here. Actually, I just imported few shaders, trees that usually I do use, maybe a few tools. Otherwise, it will be everything based on the Unity rendering itself. No assets like some Vegetation Studio or GPU Instancer, all these fancy tools, because we cannot use them in modding. In general, it's not related with modding. Actually, it's strictly Unity stuff. But I would like to see. The only reason I'm doing it because I would like to see some nice vegetation in your maps, and hopefully you will find something useful in that story. I don't know how long it's gonna be. Might be long. Okay, no more talking. Let's do something. I'm gonna check if I'm recording. It looks like I'm recording. Okay, I'm gonna clear that crap from here. I think we don't need anything here. I think so. Let's make it flat. Keep it simple. We don't need that water. Okay, we need to without the light. Without the light. Okay, so we have a clear terrain. Gonna add some texture. Let's do some greeny stuff. Do you have any grass here? Is it grass? Looks like that. Because we're gonna work with vegetation, so it's good if the terrain is red. Green, Jesus. Maybe different tiling. Okay. I think I will start from the grass first, because it's kind of straightforward. Yeah, we're gonna use the detail system, standard detail vegetation system in general for the detail for the grass. There are two ways to add the grass. You can add the grass texture that will create the billboards of the grass. In VR, they're not great because they rotate with your head. I was trying to replace the shader in game, but it doesn't allow me, so devs has to do it. There is a improved shader for it that can be used, but unfortunately today we cannot do it. And this is the most performing way to do the grass. And there is also detail mesh that you can use for little rocks as well, but also for grass, like the cross meshes. It's more complex meshes, you can spawn a lot of them, but the performance will struggle. So I will go through each of the methods, and I will do the profiling as well, and we'll see how it looks like from the performance point of view and the look. So okay, so I will add the grass texture first. I hope I have some here. Do I? Yeah, there is something. There is some grass. We can play with the colors. We can play later with that. First, I will actually paint the grass. Okay. Do I like this grass? Okay, let's be it. Okay, you see the grass has a problem. It's actually not the problem. Detail distance is maximum is 250, but we're gonna fix that. Okay, so I'm gonna paint over this terrain is 500 by 500. Okay, so I think we have couple 100,000 little billboards already. I'm gonna do the drawing distance bigger, so I will switch to debug, and detail distance I will do let's say 2000. Okay, so we have it. Not enough. Okay, we'll do 5000. Come on. Do I need to refresh it? I don't think so. It's 5000 detail. Okay, let's keep it. I have a script that actually forces that, so we don't have to switch to debug, but I will do without the script first. Okay, so we have plenty of grass here. I'm gonna add the camera and we'll see how the performance is going to be. Let's say something like that. Okay, in general it's pretty bad. 3.3 million triangles, 1,500 batches. My goal is about 200-300 max, so we'll see if I can do something like that. FPS is not bad. If we go to profiler, I'm gonna check the GPU as well. GPU is 3.75 jumping, very bad actually. So the goal, usually my goal on the GPU is about 2 milliseconds. So that will give you, like, it depends also how big is your view here. That will change, but my goal is usually about 2 milliseconds for my view. Okay, so this is bad. So what we can do here? I'm gonna go to the settings of the terrain, and we're gonna decrease first the batches of the grass. To decrease the batches of the grass, we have to increase the detail resolution per terrain. That will give us less draw calls, but also the grass won't be that dense. But I think it's better to have more grass in general in a longer distance and not that dense than dense grass but short drawing distance. So I'm gonna max this out to 128. So we have 115 now batches. We have a problem here, and if you go to the console, you will see that the combined number of detail objects, blah blah blah, it's exceeding the limit. So we need to fix that. So we're gonna decrease now detail density till we get no errors. So I'm gonna clear this down, and I'm gonna increase it now till we get errors. Oh yeah, we have it. Okay, so go back somewhere, let's say somewhere along here. Yeah, so now we have a still dense grass, not as dense as the beginning, but it's still dense. 119 draw calls, which is okay. Let's go to the profiler, GPU usage, 1.4. That's fine. But this is only grass. We don't have anything else. I'm gonna see how much terrain takes at the moment. So if I switch off the terrain, okay, 5 draw calls. What's about GPU on the terrain? 0.3 roughly. Okay, so yeah, so we'll just decrease that value from the terrain, from that terrain takes. Okay, so I think you can do a bit with the base map distance. Sorry, pixel error. Will it do any difference? No, it's flat, so it won't make any difference. Okay, so I think we can still decrease the resolution, density of the grass. So we have a 500,000 trees now. If we increase the density, you see it grows. So we're gonna do about that. So we have a 500,000 trees. And let's see the profiler now. 0.65. Okay, so it's grand. it's okay now. So we have a 0.65, but terrain takes 0.2, let's say. So grass takes 0.46, so that's fine. That's quarter of our budget for the whole map, let's say. If we turn off the so 0.1, yes, actually I switched that off and on, and you see it's lower now, and we have a 50 batches, so it's getting better. I don't understand why it's happening, but it's happening. We still have a terrain. Where is my terrain? Oh yeah, I know why it's happening, because we don't have a detailed distance. We have a 250. Okay, so if you want to have a 250 drawing distance, you have a very low cost now. Only 55 for the grass, so it's actually 48. Am I right? Yeah, 48 draw calls for this area of the grass. Yeah. Okay, let's. Oh yeah, because if you switch off the drawing and set it back, you lose that big drawing distance. So I'm gonna force back again to 5000. I think it's limiting somehow less, anyways. But still, we have a good view of the grass, big field. There are also tricks to make that grass kind of more dense without actually without changing the performance. You just make a mesh bigger or different type of the grass. So if I turn on the debugging and if I go to my grass, and I will just edit this one and find different grass that will look more dense. Oh yeah, no, that's the texture. I'm not sure if I have anything kind of that will look more dense. This one pretty looks more dense a bit. You can also change the width of it, height, and noise spread. So how big, small, how they look like there is a kind of noise texture on the back. Also color, usually I go around gray. Here you can play with the different shapes of the dry color, so that will look like that. You can see that this wind dry color is kind of moving with the wind. You can tweak these settings here. So here you have a bending of the grass, speed of the wind, and that color of the wind. This is kind of, it's all weird for me. So you have to just tweak these settings, what you like. Maybe less speed. So it looks like with this grass, it looks more dense now. So the field is like full, let's say. And if we go back to camera, we still have the same amount of batches. And probably the GPU load will be the same, I would say. 0.7, maybe a little bit higher. But not much, still in our, let's say, budget. So by playing with the grass texture, you can actually make the grass look more dense. Let's see something. I will go to my grass dealer, which is the Google. Grass texture PNG. Maybe let's go to images. Let's find some big grass. Oh yeah, here is something. I wonder if it's transparent. We'll see soon. It's a big grass, so it will be only 1 quad actually for such a big grass. Okay, so we have it. I go to my downloads. We'll see if it's transparent. sick? Yeah, I hope it is. Okay, so going back to my terrain, I'm gonna replace that with the grass I downloaded. Just got something sick PNG. Okay, that yeah, see, that made even denser. So it's like it's very rich now because the texture is big now. So, and you have a lot of grass pieces in one texture, so it makes kind of fake visual of a lot of grass, but actually it's not. Yeah, the only problem with the billboard is you won't notice that, but once you are in VR, they will just kind of rotate with your head. Okay, so we have actually pretty dense. It's 500 by 500 meters. And we still have a same, let's say, performance. So tweak the texture. Of course, more types of the grass, mix them together, will look more natural. We can also still make it even more dense, more higher, more wider. We'll still keep, in theory, the same performance. Okay, I cannot move the camera. I will just stop it for a moment. I will add moving camera because that will be handy. It's my camera main. Okay, we still have an issue with the density. So because I was changing that in a play mode. So we're gonna play with the density till we get error. Okay, we have it. Okay, so let's go back a bit. Okay, this is pretty dense now. We have 2 million actually triangles now, but this look rich. It's like one big field of grass. Okay, actually I will move it here. Yeah, the problem with the billboarding is this crap here. But in general, as an extra, this is detail. It's the map is not based on the grass, so as an extra something on your terrain, it's still okay. So I think we have too many triangles, so we can play with the density now. Slower, maybe 500 or something, so even less. You see how this is one texture, how it looks like. Okay, so let's say that's fine. We still have a good performance, and going to the profiler GPU 1.2, not bad. We can still lower it. So yeah, so this is one of the methods. It's pretty well performing. You see, I lowered a bit, and already GPU was half of it what I had before. So just play with the settings. Okay, so this was the one of the methods for the grass. The next one will be. Will I remove it or will I edit? No, I will remove it. The next one will be mesh. I'm gonna add detail mesh. So the best would be. What would be the best? I think some cross. I wonder if I have any grass here. When I find some grass. There's a pretty grass example. Oh yeah, I cannot drag in here. What's that? Okay, this is mesh made from many quads. So if I switch to standard, you will see these are this kind of combined mesh of the grass. Okay, so actually I will try this one. Fade grass example. You can make your own one as well, but just you can create a quad. You can duplicate it. child actually. Can rotate. Sorry, I'll just do this again. Okay, so we have a kind of cross. Now it would be good to combine into one object. So I can use actually mesh baker for it. We can ignore, we do the bounce center. I'm gonna save this mesh because it's saved in a scene memory. I will use my tool for it. Save meshes. Okay, so I have my cross. Just remove this. Okay, so this is my cross prefab. Not prefab yet, but I'll just make it. So it will be cross mesh. And we'll drag it, let's say somewhere here in the assets. And now I'm gonna create the material for it. I'm just showing how you can make your own grass. So that will be, let's say, grass cross material. Okay, and now we can choose some shader. I have some shaders here. I have plenty of them actually. I can use one of the nature, maybe vegetation. Actually, it doesn't matter because the Unity engine will choose its own shader and some grass texture. Okay, let's say this one. Okay, so we have a cross now. It's moving with the wind because it's done on shader, so but it's gonna be overwritten anyways by the terrain. I'm gonna just apply this to the prefab. I think I will see soon. I think I have to move the pivot point to the bottom. Okay, so that's our cross mesh. I'm going back to the map, to the terrain, and I'm gonna add the detail mesh this time, and that will be cross mesh. Actually, I will take from the assets. I don't know if it matters. And oh Jesus, gonna paint this over. Okay, don't worry, we'll fix it. I think I will kill my GPU now. Okay, we have a lot. Okay, for some reason it didn't pick up the texture, so I'm gonna change. First I'm gonna change them. Actually, maybe I will change the texture first. Let's say this one. Let's see if it's gonna fix it. Refresh. Do I have anything here? I have some errors. Okay, going back to my material. Maybe I have to use just different shaders. So for example, I will use something standard from the nature. Say leaves. And we'll choose some texture. I'm gonna refresh it. I hope it will work. Yeah, that hit the trick. So the shader was causing the problem. Okay, and you see the pivot point as well is fucked. So I'm going to cross mesh my prefab. I have some tool for the pivot. I'll fix the pivot on it. Lower a bit to the ground. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay, thank you. Go back to the scene. Pivot on my prefab is fixed, so that should fix the grass on the terrain. So I'm gonna refresh it now. No, didn't. Okay, first I'm gonna decrease the density because we have some errors here. and refresh. Blah 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 blah. Okay. No, it's talking about my tree here on the terrain. I'm gonna remove it. So why do I have it under the ground? I will do once again cross mesh. Oh, is my pivot? Oh, it's still there. Okay. Okay, so I will do once again. I wonder why it didn't save. Let's say start index can be less than 0. What the hell are you talking about? Okay, I will do the other way. I won't do that on prefab. I will do here. Argument out of range exception. Thank you very much. Okay, another way. I'm gonna create the empty object. I'm gonna place this empty object where my pivot one. I would like to have the pivot on. Go back here, start editing. Set here. I fucking joking. Sorry for excuse my language. What the hell is going on here? Okay, we're gonna skip that pivot. I think I'm not gonna waste the time on this. On this one, I'm gonna focus on the on performance. Okay, so we have this grass. And going back to terrain, I'm gonna increase the density till I get an error. Oh, okay. So you see, it's actually not that dense as the billboards, because these are the actually cross quads. So they have more triangles. One piece of grass have more triangles. And if we measure the performance, 117, we have a 1.6 million triangles, so we have a 3 times more actually than on the billboards. We don't have density as we had on billboards, but it looks better once you get closer to it, because it's like a 3D, then it's not rotating like the billboard, so you have to choose what you prefer more. I don't like this texture. Do I have anything else? Maybe this one? Where is the one I downloaded? Sig, was it? Yeah. So that was the one I downloaded before. It was used on the billboard. I'll refresh it. So it looks like with the... Okay, that wind is pretty strong. They're acting funny because the pivot point is at the bottom. Okay, still kind of, because the mesh is big. Now you see how the crosses are big now. It's actually, density is pretty good. But we have way more triangles here. So, okay, I'm still in the play mode, so I'm gonna go to profiler. 1.2 milliseconds. So we have a 1 millisecond GPU, so it's, let's say, half of our budget is taken by this grass. If I turn it off, yeah, 0.2, so 1 millisecond. I turn it on, back, I won't have a distance again. So we go do the 5000 again. So actually you can keep the cross, but play with the density. So we'll lose some density, but we'll have let's say 500,000 triangles. Now the GPU shouldn't complain much. Yeah, 0.5, very good. So it's like 0. I think terrain was taking 0.2, so 0.3 is taken by our grass. We have a long distance view actually. Not big density as we had before, but no more as well billboarding. The grass is okay once you get closer to it in VR. You can have different meshes as well, different cross. I'm gonna try the one that was the, how was it called, Fade something, grass example, mobile fade grass example. Yeah, I'm gonna try the more complex mesh than the cross. I'm gonna replace this one. I'm gonna apply, gonna refresh it. I'm gonna change the shader as well, because the terrain doesn't like this shader. So I think anything from the Unity would do, because I think the Unity is replacing the shader anyways. Come on. Are you saying something here to me wrong? Yeah, too much. Yeah, okay, too much triangles, because this mesh I replace now had a lot of triangles, so actually this wouldn't work well. So the best would be, I wonder if I can actually paint with that. So I'm gonna remove that detail, will be quite quicker. I'm gonna add again. That was this one. And I wonder if I can paint now. No, too much. Okay, so for if you have this message and you have a density very low, then go back to detail resolution per patch, and we can try 32. And I wonder if I can paint now. Still exceeding. So I'm gonna make a brush strength and opacity smaller. Still, okay, that could be actually too many vertices on that mesh. So even that low settings, it still complains. So I'm gonna do the lowest one, which is, I'm not sure if it's the lowest one, but the low one. I cannot paint. See clearly here that I have a grass mesh. Okay, but you got the idea. So we have two options here, billboard and the mesh painting. Just make sure that you use some shaders that actually are compatible, because for some reason some of them don't work, some of them do. I'll try if I go the fast one, and if I can still paint it. No, I don't have any errors in console. Density. No, okay, we'll skip it. Well, yeah, okay. So we got the idea. There were two ways now on the Unity, billboard and the mesh. The other one we can actually do the manually. So that's our grass here. So I'm gonna set the shader that was before on it, which was, I think, vegetation. Vegetation. Pro. I wanna find some thicker grass. Ah, yeah, that was the hour from example actually. Okay, this shader has its own movement on the wind, and it has a nice feature of the noise, I'll show you later what it does. I'm just gonna lower the wind because it's just dancing too much. Okay, so yeah, this is actually prefab, but I'm gonna just no, it doesn't have to be overwritten. I'm gonna use some painter. This one. I'll paint this grass, which contains a lot of meshes, a lot of triangles. But is it this one? Yeah. Mobile, that's the mobile fade grass example. Okay, mobile fade grass example. I'm gonna create new parent. I'm gonna paint on the cable layer, which will be my terrain, I think. Brush mode, brush size, the big brush size, intensity. I don't know, it's just random numbers. I'm gonna do some random rotation and yeah, let's brush it. Actually, I'll dock it here. Oh Jesus, that will take me ages. Make a brush smaller, intensity. So I'm placing the objects now, not on the terrain, on the grass painter engine of the Unity. I'm placing them in a hierarchy. Okay, so we'll see what's gonna happen now. So let's make it kind of dense. Actually, I could make random scale as well. Yeah, so okay, so we have roughly patches like that. And you see they are here, and there is actually plenty of them. Oh my god, I'm still on the play mode, okay. I was wondering why my GPU is running. Okay, so I'm gonna paint again. This time I'm gonna do some random scale as well. From let's say from 1 to 2. I have a rotation. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, I want to make a mess. I'm gonna parent it. Okay. All right. So we have a big field of grass. And it's all here, okay? So I'm gonna go to my game and play, and I think we'll have a performance disaster here. I already see it. Okay, so we have 9 million triangles, we have 500 batches, and our performance is terrible. Probably the GPU will struggle as well. Yeah, 19, so forget about it. So this solution is okay once you can cool these patches of the grass, because the difference now, the main difference is now you can use your custom shaders. You are not stuck with the shaders from the Unity terrain. You can use your own shaders on the grass, okay? So you have a lot of many nice features. Like for example, this noise. You can replace the texture of the noise, but it depends what shader you're using. You can do some tweaks for it. Yeah, so for example, that's useful once you have a, for example, forest, and you want to make it nice look. You don't see the long distance. And you want to make it looks nice, because you can do a lot of things on that shader. It's not limited as the Unity grass shader. So that's I think way to go. but not as with the long distance as we could do on the Unity terrain. So this is the third method for the grass. You just place the meshes on the terrain. This is a GPU instanced at the moment in theory, and I think it is because we have saved 48,000 batches we saved, but we still are over the limit of triangles. We should have maybe 1 million max for the grass, maybe 500,000, because we need something for the rest of the map, and this is just the grass. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so we're gonna say goodbye to this grass. Yeah, I think that was way too much. It looks nice. Maybe because it's like a lot of gaps here, but you can tweak it way better, replacing texture, etc. But not long distance, only short distance usable. Also, like because we are doing on the GPU instancing, let's see if there is any difference between GPU instancing and static batching. So we have a 25 FPS, 50,000 batch, 494. Okay, so if I go to my any change I do here on the example, on the prefab, it should apply to the rest. Mobile 2, 3. We have a grass, grass. So for example, I'm gonna make a static. So it should static batch without GPU instancing. And we'll see if there is any difference. 50,000 batches. Okay. So static batching sometimes better than GPU instancing, sometimes not. GPU instancing is good when you have a multiplied the same mesh with the same material. Static batching is good once you have a different mesh that shares the same material. Here we have the same mesh, because each of these pieces here is the same mesh and has the same material. So in our case, GPU instancing is much better than static batching, and you can actually see FPS similar, but the batches just couldn't handle so much batching for some reason. So in our case, GPU instancing is way better. What else? We can actually see if we replace the shader, if it's gonna make any difference. So any change I do on the prefab, it should apply for the whole map. So if I'm gonna replace the shader to something different. I'm gonna pick up some random. There is some AFS simple tree. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the grass because it didn't apply the texture. Some grass that will be applied. Okay, let's say this one. Yeah, so this is different shader, different texture, but it doesn't matter. And we'll see how the performance is. Is it GPU instanced? Yeah, it is. Okay, this one I think is not moving with the wind as the previous shader. I think I have a still static batching on. 4 FPS, I think my computer froze. I have way too many triangles, so this idea is not good, like at least for such a big distance. Unity stuck. I think I will have to force to stop. No, I didn't have to. Okay, I'm going to the prefab. No, okay, it's not. Oh no, that's not this one. Grass. Yeah, it was still static batched. So you can actually still using occluding for it. Just disable static batching. No point to bake the light on the grass unless you have only few. Okay, I'm gonna try now with the GPU instancing without static batching on the prefab. So this is applied for all the prefabs here, and I'm gonna play. Might take a while before it triggers. Okay, so not really much difference here. We still have a 25. I'm gonna try different shader. I think we can do it while on play mode. What's it? Recreate or fast? That messed up our GPU instancing because it doesn't have, actually it doesn't support. I have some foliage shaders here, grass shader. Okay, this one didn't show anything. Foliage shader. No. It's about nature manufacture. Standard shader. Okay, this one is moving with the wind. For some reason it's fading out. I think cool distance. Okay, yeah, you can. This is kind of, this cooling distance is not great as well, because you see, it still have a 8.9 trees. Even if I cool it down, it still shows that, and it doesn't decrease our performance for some reason. Doesn't make big difference. So we can use the actually occlusion cooling distance on the layers, like so assign the layer and cool it in the distance. That will definitely decrease your. So different shader didn't make any difference. It's just too much. This is just too much. So the winner, I think, is the Unity system here for the open map with the longest distance view. Maybe it doesn't look good. You don't have so much control over shaders. Because this one, for example, has a nice wind. You can change a lot of things here, but it's very costly. So only short distance, and you have to cool the patches. Otherwise disaster. Is there any other way to draw the grass? I could draw only quads and use the shader for billboarding, but that won't be. I think I tested already, so yeah, so only I'm gonna remove that guy here. So yeah, I think our painting detail system wins. Okay, let's move to the trees. Oh Jesus, okay, trees. Okay, let's start from the standard Unity terrain. There are different ways for the trees in general to build the trees. Unity has its own system, tree creator. It's you can create your own tree actually. Just going by here, tree, and you can make your own tree. Branches, etc., etc. It's pretty well optimized, but it doesn't batch, and I will show you what I mean by that. So, okay, so I'm gonna find some tree. I think I had some fear from the. I'm gonna find some cheap one. I'm not talking about the money, I'm talking about the performance. Which is basically triangles. Okay, we have a lot of loads here. We don't need so many loads because every switch of the load it costs us. Okay, so I'm gonna unpack the prefab. I'm gonna see how the load tree look like. I think for our use of VR, load 3 will be okay because load 4 is the cross. See, it's the cross billboard. So gonna use the load 3. Okay, so because it's getting messy here, so I'm gonna create a folder of trees. I'm gonna make a prefab from load 3, and it will not have any. It won't have load D4. It will have only one mesh. Okay, so I made the prefab from that load. So I'm gonna paint now this tree using the terrain tree painter. So I'm gonna add the tree. Maybe our load 3. Now we have a message here. Blah blah blah. Our tree must use nature soft occlusion shader, otherwise billboarding lighting will not work correctly. what it means that our shader is not correct here, because it's a nature manufacturer's shader. It must be the one that Unity can do the billboard of, and this is the nature soft occlusion shader. And so if we go to nature, tree soft occlusion leaves for the leaves, and for the bark the same bark. Okay, so yeah, it changed the look. Just do your things with the look. The other shader is way nicer. This is basic shader. You see, it doesn't look realistic, but it's a tree. It's still a tree. You can play with some stuff here with the colors. Yeah, so now the billboarding will work because we use the soft occlusion shader, and the billboarding is basically Unity engine makes the picture of the tree and make a billboard of it. That's why it needs shader that supports that. Okay, so let's go back to the our tree painter. Okay, so now we can paint the trees. Yeah, the other thing is because we're using one mesh and we use the Unity billboard system, we cannot have much variation here. We can only actually play with the height of the tree, and we can do some color variation. Well, of course, density in the brush, but this is for the painting. I'm talking about the final look of the trees. So if you go for the way for this way with the trees, okay, I'm gonna use the one mesh and I'm gonna use the billboards from the Unity itself. You can have only control over the size, over the height of the tree, and color the variation. Okay, so I'm gonna paint the trees. Okay, so we have a pretty dense. I'm gonna turn off this grid. Pretty dense forest here. Yeah. So yeah, you can see that there are some billboards, and what we can do here, what we can tweak. We can change the fade length. Billboard start distance. Fade length looks terrible, so I always lower, because it kind of, I don't know, it's not fading. They call it fading, but it makes kind of worse. If you go closer, kind of fading. It's not, I don't know, for me it's not smooth. Yours in VR it looks terrible anyway, so I prefer just to switch from the billboard. There is no smooth fading between the normal mesh and the billboard. Okay, so yeah, so we have a tree distance. That's obvious. The max distance. We'll max out everything here anyway, so we're gonna try to fill out the 500 by 500 with the various vegetation and check the performance. And the billboard start. Okay, so let's go to our camera, and actually I will place that camera for the forest view. Let's say here. Okay, so I'm gonna press play. I believe the performance will be terrible. So okay, we have a bazillion of patches, too many, a lot of triangles. Even if that tree was very low, actually, I need one more tool. Or do I have it here? No. I'm gonna check that tree. Okay, it's 1500s. It's low poly. It's low poly tree. I don't know how many trees we have. Let's say, I don't know, 500. I'm guessing. Okay, so So yeah, it looks okay, but it doesn't perform well. If we go to our GPU, 408. Yeah, this is weird, but yeah, it's stabilizing. Okay, GPU is not bad, but too many batches. This won't work. That will void CPU. So what we can do here, we can play with the billboard distance, and if we watch the batches here and triangles and FPS. So getting closer here. Okay, so we have 20 batches, 10,000 triangles, which is nothing. We have a great performance. We can go to GPU. GPU is doing basically nothing because half of it is our terrain. So we have plenty of trees, but these are all billboards, unfortunately. Okay, so the distance is 5. Okay, that imagine running here and shooting. No, that won't work well. So you can increase that distance to, let's say, 30, 40, and watch the batches. We don't want to. Let's say we have a budget €200 for 200 draw calls batches for the vegetation. So because you need some buildings, you have the game objects, etc. So you can. So the only thing you can play actually here is the decrease the billboard distance, maybe total distance of the trees. If you have some fog, you can hide the cooling. But you see look at the batches and look at the trees. It doesn't change much because these are the only billboards. They are very cheap. What matters is this here. Look at, I can kill the CPU by increasing this. And also you can see that the billboards don't produce shadows. So this is another minus of the solution, because they will just pop up unless it will be evening, no shadows. So yeah, you have to use some tricks to hide these issues here. So for example, we can do some fog that might do some trick. Yeah, you have I don't know, you have some early morning. You don't see now this billboard jumping in, and the batches are okay, but the fog is too dense. But still, you can still make a pretty dense forest with that solution, with that built-in terrain system. Maybe 0.5. That looks a bit better. Draw cores are low. You can still increase it. But more you increase, you just kill your patches here. Oh no, that's not the one. So yeah, don't spend more than, like, it's not the must, but it's kind of rule of thumb that 200 batches for vegetation, that's okay. But more, I wouldn't spend unless it's only based on vegetation, the map. Okay, so yeah, so let's turn off the fog. So we have a dense forest based on the billboarding system and built-in trees, popping up of the shadows of the billboards, but playable, and it's dense. It's big forest, okay? But look at what's happening. This, yeah. So everything has its pros and cons, okay? So choice is yours. Okay. Yeah, what's next? Next would be good to try to keep the same kind of amount of trees. So we got, okay, so I will make a note actually, or we'll try to remember. My billboard start, let's say here, okay, 60. Maybe let's set 50. So we have a 226 calls. I have a good performance. All is good, except these are billboards. So also they have problems with the light, and once you export the map in game they will look slightly different. You can play with the shader settings here with different ambient occlusion, this light, a bit of shading here, bit of the light. I think maybe this one of them. I think if you bake the light, the shade, the billboard will change the colors as well. I'm not sure now. Yeah, so yeah, okay. So we have a 226 batches, good performance. Once again, I will check GPU. No load on GPU at all, practically. So performance is great at the moment. You can be sure that it's gonna work. Okay. And now I'm gonna do different shader and different way and the same trees. So to do so, what I can do. Okay, I'm gonna create another one. What I wanna do? Oh yeah, I wanna do my own load for it, using the load 4. So we're not gonna use billboard system anymore. We'll use the cross that was here. Once you give to Terrain Painter 3 with its own load system, LOD system, the billboards will not work. It will the LOD will take over. Also, you have extra option in Tree Painter where you can change the rotation of the trees, which makes looks more natural. Okay, so I'm gonna create my new prefab. So that will be this tree actually. Where is that? Where are you? Okay, you are here. I need LOD4. Actually, I will make a prefab of it, or I'll make it here. So I'm gonna unpack this prefab. I drag. I'm gonna actually move it up. So we'll see. So I have my tree and I have my cross here. This cross belongs still to that LOD group, so I'm gonna turn it off. So I have two objects here, like that. Yeah, our load 0 and load 1, which is 3 and 4, but it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna create the LOD group for it. We need only, we can still use cooling. We can, why not? So that will be our LOD 0, that will be our LOD 4, because I dragged parent, that added also the cross, so I'm gonna remove it here. So if I move it now, so I have my LOD here. Also, you can do the crossfade, so it will change smoothly. It could be animated or based on the distance. So it will, I think this is the time. So you see, so it's smoothly changing. But in that moment, in the moment of transition, so for example, if you stay here, you will have two trees drawn. You will have a LOD1 and LOD 0. There are two drones now, so everything will be doubled in that moment. So if you have 100 trees, this that will cause your spikes on the CPU because more trees are drawn. So this is the downside of the crossfading, this type, and downside of the animated crossfading is when you move, it's not like it doesn't draw in us in this position like here. now we have two trees drawn, but if we have animated, it will never draw two trees, like it will, but only for a moment. And transition, 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 transition. It's not like you stay in one position and you have two trees all the time. No, it's just switching over smoothly. But it will cause the spike as well for the moment of changing. So if you, for example, have a lot of trees using this animated crossfade, and if you move quick or if you just walk, a lot of trees will animate, will draw twice, and you will have a CPU spikes while on the move. You will have a good performance once you stay, but once you move, all will be kind of animating, drawing twice, and doing its own switch. It will look good, but you will have a spike, so you have to experiment with it. If you have enough budget for CPU, you can do the crossfading, smooth crossfading. If not, you can also actually do the crossfade not animated, but with very short distance. So it's nearly like a pop-up, but still kind of smoother than completely no crossfade. But the best performant way is the no, but also the worst look. Okay, so right, so yeah, so I have my tree here. I'm gonna rename it actually, so that will be fear tree with load. Okay, and I'm going to back to my terrain. I'm gonna replace trees with my new one, with its own LOD system. Okay, that did some mess. Oh, I don't like it. Okay. Okay, let's go to my prefab. First I will change the... This is all 0, 0 positions. I think it doesn't matter, but I will just make sure that I have all zeros. Yeah, they shouldn't do what they did, but first I will go back to a different shader, not the Unity built-in. I will use the actually nature manufacturers shader, that will be tree park. Oh, sorry, that was leaves. What I'm looking for is trees. I'm looking for leaves. Okay, we're going for metallic ones. And the bark. Nature manufacturer, trees, bark, metallic as well. And for the cross, we're going to do the natural cross tree model shader. Okay, that's fine. Our colors are messed up here for some reason. Okay, we have a GPU instancing. We're gonna turn off the static batching. Okay, that's fine. We don't have static batching. Colors. Okay, we have no light here on the prefab view. Okay, that came back. Once I replaced the shader, it came back to normal. Okay, so now we don't have billboards at the back. We have cross models, and we have our nature manufacturer shaders, which look way better than the occlusion, whatever it's called, the Unity one, nature soft occlusion, something like that. We have our own LOD system that's switching the trees. Oh yeah, that was our example. That was this one, yeah. And we can actually do a bit more with it now. First of all, it would be good try to match the colors with the... This one are kind of specular. These are matte. So if I go to... Actually, I could... Yeah, that would be easier if I have it here. So if I have better access to materials. Oh, actually, I can go from here. So this one is too kind of... am I actually modifying a good one? I think so. Smoothness. I don't like smoothness in general on the trees. Again, it depends what kind of light setup you have. Bark could be a bit darker. And it's also too smooth. They're not made from glass, it's matte. The cross ones don't look bad. I'm gonna drag it actually here. That's the one, actually, this one. And the cross. Play with the color to match it up a bit better. Is there any smoothness here? Not really. The good thing here with them, it's like you can make them move, all of them. I think nature manufacturer needs some wind prefab. Okay, so you see they move. Even the cross LOD, our crossfar trees are moving with the wind. And we have further shadows. Okay, and the most important now, let's check the performance. Okay, so let's play. So okay, we have a... First of all, we have a moving trees. Actually, I could move the other one as well, but the billboards don't move. And we had to have a very short billboard distance, because otherwise we would have a lot of batches, because the first LOD0 don't batch at all using the Unity terrain shaders, tree shaders. On the, for example, this one, nature manufacturer, there are other shaders as well. They're all similar custom shaders. You can just experiment with many of them. But as an example, I took this one. You see they're batching well. Like we have a 8000 batched, only 136 draw calls. Performance is not so good. We're gonna check the GPU will be probably heavy now, but not that bad. It's like 1.1, so we're still in a budget. So let's say we have a half of the budget is taken by our trees, half of our map budget. But we have a nice looking trees. We have actually good view of them. We don't have a billboards popping up very close us. They have a nice shaders. You can of course tweak them better. And we have a good performance, basically. This FPS, don't mind that because it's all in the editor, so we just do the readings of the batches. CPU, I think so, maybe because I'm recording. Also VR is on, because I'm using my headset to record. So in that case, I think this one won, in my opinion, with the Unity terrain trees. The Unity trees would be better if you have a, let's say, 5000 meters, square meters, 5000 by 5000 map, for example, and you need a lot of vegetation. The billboards from Unity trees are very cheap, so it will look worse, but it will perform better. So if you don't have many trees, you can go for this way. We have a lot of batching is like a combining, so it's doing internally. And this is instance batching, so GPU batching, GPU instance. It's not static batching. If I mark them static, actually I won't now. Actually I can, because I can mark the terrain static. No, I can mark the prefab static. So if I go to need to find that tree. I'll show you what's gonna happen. I'm gonna fly all over the place because I think the shader change anything? Okay, I need to refresh probably. No. Okay, I think it skipped completely static batching. Thank God, because it wouldn't work correctly on that. Oh no, I think I'm kind of confused now. Is it static? Yeah. But it's not batching static. I can see it clearly. Anyways, we have a nice GPU instancing working, because you see that lot of, I don't know how many trees is here. Couple hundreds easily. It's 7,000. Would it be 7,000 trees here? I don't think so. Maybe. How will I count it? It's like, so we have a 1 million triangles, and each tree was 5,000. So we have a 200 trees. 200, yeah, 200 trees. No, that's. My brain is not working well. So we have a million triangles. This is simple mathematical calculation, and 5,000 triangles is each tree. 200. So we have a. Ah no. Okay. Because we have a crosses as well. So 200, 5,000 triangles is these guys here. This one load 4, our load 1 actually, our cross. It's only 24 triangles. Okay, so yeah. One more thing about the GPU instancing is it can batch up to 1023 objects in one draw call, but they have to be the same, and they have to have the same material. So same mesh, same material, up to 1023. It will batch. It will instance to GPU as a one draw call, and yeah, and it's pretty good way to do some stuff sometimes if you have the same meshes. So it's better, sometimes better to have a different size of the trees, for example, and rotation, and instance the GPU instead of 20 different ones. They will not batch together, like they will batch between themselves, but not with the other ones. So yeah, so you can mix different trees and check maybe static batching if you don't need the moving trees. There are some shaders you can have a static batching, not GPU instancing. Sometimes it might work better, and these shaders also supports moving of the branches while they are static batched. Okay, yeah, this one is. It's not bad. Yeah, like you see, I'm moving on the map. I have a million triangles, so we're on the budget. Like you can go in the whole total map on the one view up to maybe 2 millions. Don't go over, because your GPU will explode. I have pretty dense forest. We have 100 draw calls. Not bad. I'm kind of pretty happy with that. You can. Oh yeah, if you still want to improve on performance on this guy, you can go to your prefab that is on the terrain here. Go to prefab directly, and I will make that LOD closer. So if you watch the batches, they should change, but on the change I have to go to the map. I have to click refresh. Why? Oh, come on. So let's put it very close. Yeah, it dropped. Actually, the batches are similar. The trees dropped. So I don't have to refresh. Oh, yeah, you can see the triangles changing. So that will be better visible from above. Especially the small ones. Now you see, like we have full meshes here, and they still batching, because for the GPU instancer it doesn't matter how many triangles you have, they will batch. So we have a still same amount of batches, kind of, but let's say small changes. Let's call it's the same. But the triangles, now we have 8 million triangles. You see, so we still have a batches very low, but our GPU is game over here. So yeah, so we have to adjust this LOD till you're happy. Of course, like you adjust in editor LOD like that, in game it will change completely different. So just do the tests, exports, and watch the FPS VR, but it will give you a rough idea what's happening here. So yeah, as a summary, we have a low batches, low draw calls. They are all batched. Triangles, it's up to you how you set the LOD. Okay. Yeah, actually we can do this crossfade now. Okay, so we won't have a pop-up, but you will see how much batch is changing if I move. See, and it goes up to 400, 500 even, because they're changing very smoothly. It all looks nice, no pop-ups. And so this is what I was talking before. We have 67 batches right now. They also, you can, if you pay the occlusion cooling, they will cool as well. I think if we go, we have a frustum cooling anyways now. Rendering. Now we have to bake the. They are cooled in GPU anyways, but it's good to bake the anyways the occlusion cooling. So you will see on that visualization here what I'm talking about, and actually I can show it to you. That shouldn't be long. Oh come on! Oh, Jesus. Okay, bake. That was I had opened. Okay, I will keep the default settings. Quick bake. Just make sure that I will enable here. For those that don't know what is this, ping me, but this is the must. Okay, yeah, let's play now. So actually we should have a visualization now of the, where is my camera? Okay, it's just on the corner, okay, so I won't see much. This one is up. So if I switch to occlusion, you can see this is what the rendering system does now. You don't draw the back stuff. Okay, going back to my smooth fading, which is make them smaller. Where is my LOD group? I have this one. Okay, so I have a crossfade, I have an animated crossfading. I have a low batches, let's say 140, and if I move, the moment of movement it reach even 500, because a lot of trees are changing from one LOD to another one, and it's animated smooth, so means two are drawn in the same time, and before they get batched, they are not, I think they are not batched once they fading. So the moment of movement is the performance killer. You see the saved by batching 4000, and if I move, it says less saved by batching. In the moment of movement, they come back again. So same of here. 500 and go back to the. So the moment of movement is the killer. So yeah, so it's really up to you as well here. Because the fading looks nice, you can save some time, save something here. I think I cannot go lower here with the LOD, but I can go project settings, player, quality, and I will change the load bias. There's a script for it, so you can make the crosses very close. Let's say here. This is just for testing. It's not gonna stay like that. Okay, we have less batches with all perfect here, great performance. And we still have those jumps, but we don't have a jumps to 500. We stay on 100 batches, we jump to 200, maybe less, and we still have a animated crossfading. But our crosses are way closer now. But because you have an animated crossfading, you don't see them popping up. So this is also your choice. On smaller trees you will see. They will be changing closer. So it only jumps to the 200 during the transition. And these are the cross there. You can play with the colors as well here, so they will match together. So to trick the brain that these are the same meshes, but I like the fading in general, but it can be costly. So now we had the kind of trade between our LOD distance of the crosses and the animated crossfading. Yeah, sometimes go to 300. There is also another one. We're gonna ignore the speed tree. Not animated crossfading. So this is something. I'm gonna actually do it here. I'll do the longer crossfading. You see, our batches straight away jumped. So if I change this, the batch is changing. This is because it's done by dithering. If you look at this guy here, it has a lot of dots and kind of mesh crosses because it's in a transition now. It's stuck on transition. So it's between, it draws the two LOD0, LOD1. So if I move slowly, I can get this moment where two trees are drawn, yeah, and that doubles batches as well. So it could be a bit. There is no peaks on the jumps of the batches like on the animated crossfading. But there is increase in batches in general, but not as high. So you can have on animated crossfading you have a peaks of the batches, and then it goes down because the animated is crossfading animated is done. On the not animated crossfading, you have an increased number of batches because there are trees that are during transition. I hope it's clear. So you can get stuck with many trees if you stay in one place. You can get stuck with many trees that are during transition. So you can make that transition kind of shorter. So I don't know, for example, I don't know how to explain it better. So if you stay here, for example, this tree is during transition, and if you walk to here, the tree will be done. The transition of the tree will be done. But if you stay between this point and this point, for example here, the tree will be during transition, so it will have double draw course. So you can get stuck with the twice batches. And if I turn off, the draw calls are lower. Okay, okay. I hope it gave you idea now with the trees on this method. So we have it's not like I prefer this method. It definitely looks nicer because you can use the better shaders. You can have different models at the back. Don't go for more LODs, because if you have more LODs, you mean more transitions, and as you've seen before, each transition costs you, if it's of course a crossfade transition. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, then yeah. So performance was okay in general here. So I'm gonna turn this off. Going back to my project settings. Yeah, load back. bias is back to the 5. Now I'm gonna export actually these trees to game objects here, because they're on terrain, so we don't have much manipulation with them. So to do it, I'm gonna use the terrain to mesh. Where is that? Oh god, okay, here. Export trees. So it's pulling the trees from the tree painter system into the hierarchy. Okay, so okay, I can close this. So if I go to the, I can actually remove that tree. These guys will be still there. So do I need to remove? No, maybe we'll need it later. So I will turn off the drawing of the trees on the terrain. I still have the guys from here. Okay. And these two trees are just some random from here. I use them maybe for something. Okay, so here we have a, so we had a 3471. Now we know exactly how many trees we had. Yeah, so they act the same. The performance should be in theory the same. Yeah, it's roughly the same. But now we can do another things with them. We can do some combining maybe. I will show you another method that could be handy. The problem with combining could be you will have to make them kind of static, so they won't move with the wind. You might get better performance, might be more work. Sometimes the result might be not great, but we'll see. Okay, first, because we have our trees with LODs, I don't want to mess with the mesh baker and LOD, so I'm gonna replace all these trees with the one tree with one LOD. Okay, and for that I'm gonna unpack this prefab. I'm gonna mark all the trees. Oops. Replace with prefab. It's a script. You can download. I think I posted somewhere. It's free script anyways. I'm gonna drag my only LOD tree LOD tree and replace. That will replace all the trees with my prefab here. It will take a moment because it's 3400. Our performance will sink also. I think it will be too much. Could be too many for yeah, it will take a while for combining as well. That's what I'm afraid. Maybe I should show you the combining with lower amount of trees. Or actually I can, oh yeah, I know what I will do. I will just combine one cluster and I will just duplicate this cluster. It will be faster. Okay, but first this process has to finish. I'm gonna pause the video. I'm gonna make myself a little break. I will come back in a moment. Okay. Right, so it replaced all my trees with LOD system into the actual trees that have no LOD. This darker area is my shadow distance. Oh yeah, I completely forgot about the light. Yeah, I will come back to the light later. I don't want to put too much on you now. So we have one type of the tree everywhere without LOD system. So it's all mesh, so that will be very heavy for GPU, even if they are batched. Well, our draw cores are low. We don't need this anymore. You see there is 50,000 batches saved by batching, but we have a lot of triangles here. We have 280 batches, which is okay, but too many triangles, like way too many. So I'm not gonna profile even that because no point. So what we can do, we can try to combine them into clusters. So for example, instead of one tree, I wonder if it makes sense in that case, because they're batching well. We can try actually. Yeah, we'll see if that's gonna make any difference. So I think I'm gonna remove a lot of them. I'm gonna make mark only few. Just thinking what would be the best way to show you what I'm trying to do. I think I'm gonna remove them all. I think we don't need them. Maybe not remove, I'll just disable them. And now we use my painter. Yeah. I don't know. What was this one? Standalone without LOD. Create new parent. Yeah. Yeah, brush mode. Little brush. Not much intensity. Not sure about this depth. It's like, I don't know. Rotation. We can do a different scale. Yeah. Too dense. Try to make one cluster similar to the too wide. Yeah. Okay, we can make the cluster of it, I would say. Yeah, why not? Okay, so now there's few ways I can combine this, because each tree have two materials. I can combine this to one material and use only one shader. So for example, I can use the leaf shader on the bark as well and make an atlas of these both textures. That will make one material only on the cluster, which will be good for performance and actually will be good for static batching. But the problem is we'll lose the wind on the leaves, because the bark will move. All barks will move together. That will not look natural. But I think with the combining we have to, I think, sacrifice the wind. We can try to later to do a bit of wind on the branches, but that will need different approach. The different approach is separating these submeshes materials, because each material is the different submesh of the mesh. So bark and the branches, I can separate them. I can combine only barks, I can combine only leaves, and add the wind to leaves and keep the bark static. So for example, leaves can still move, but I will need to use different shader than this one. So because on batching, on the combining, we have to forget about the GPU instancing completely. We won't use GPU instancing anymore, because every cluster will be different. In our case, actually, the cluster will be the same, because I'm gonna, instead of making a lot of different clusters from the whole forest, to save the time, I'm gonna make one cluster. I'm gonna copy paste this cluster. Okay, so actually we can try with the GPU instancing. We'll see. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna combine it. I think I'm gonna combine first with the two materials. So, Washbaker, drag it, create. So that will be my tree mix, and I'm gonna do multiple materials. Okay. I'm gonna keep the, actually, maybe too much. We'll see how they gonna atlas. Oh no, actually I'm not atlasing. Okay, so this doesn't matter, because I'm gonna use the I'm gonna use the multiple materials. Cluster type, that will be a whole lot. Gonna bake the material. Okay, let's create it at last. Yeah, it did, because actually it didn't bake any material, but it saved the asset. Okay, so I have a cluster. This is it's gonna be one mesh. I'm gonna ignore the UV because we're not gonna bake the light, but I'm gonna do the bound center of the mesh, so the pivot will be in the middle. Okay, generate and bake. Okay, didn't bake the materials. Okay, I have some fail, or unless it did bake. No, it didn't. No. Okay, I messed up something. Okay, once again. Objects to be combined. Okay, our trees. Multiple combined materials. Alright, I didn't build the source, okay. So now it found two materials, that's correct. And now I'm gonna bake the materials. Just refresh the clusters. Generate mesh, bound center, okay. Bake. And disable renderers. Okay, now you see they're doing weird thing. Because we have a wind on them, and I think they are now static batched or no. Okay, so we're gonna disable instancing. We'll see what's it's going to do. Okay, still moving. Okay, so I have to get rid of the wind. We can do with the few ways. I can actually do it on shader. So first bark and leaves. I was thinking to replace the shader, but 0, 0, 0, everywhere 0. Okay, so we have a static one, no wind. And we have a one mesh, but with two materials, so it's like we have actually two meshes. Okay, so I'm gonna, because I didn't create the mesh maker, doesn't make, you can do it actually, but I have a faster way. I'll just save this mesh. So I'm just saving combined mesh. Okay, I'm gonna rename it, so it's combined trees with two materials. I'm gonna make a prefab so I can use maybe later. I'm gonna remove that mess from here. So yeah, so we have a combined one mesh here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 20 trees, whatever, and two materials. So that will not batch static because it has two materials, but it might still batch. I think it will still batch with the GPU because we're gonna copy that mesh. Why my Control D doesn't work? Oh god. I'm gonna try to recreate similar density as on the previous test. Sometimes the Unity bugs out and Control D doesn't work for some reason. After restarting, usually it helps. So I'm gonna do the long way. Last. So kind of density as we had before, but it's combined now in clusters. So we have only 39 meshes here. So let's see what's happening here. So the camera view is the same as previously. We have a good FPS. We have a very low batches. I like draw calls. We saved something by batching, so it did instance with the GPU on this shader. But we have a lot of trees here, like too many. So if we go to the GPU, maybe with pretty big load. Yeah, we're reaching over the limit. 3. Maybe you should point maybe in 1 or something. With the crosses without combining, we had actually lower GPU. We had more draw calls, but we had a lower GPU. But in that case, we have all the time full meshes. Okay, so now because we have we use this prefab, so I'm gonna work on this prefab. I'm gonna create the LOD on each cluster. So for example, on this one, on each of these clusters here. So if I go to my prefab, which is the source of these clusters, I'm gonna create the LOD on it. For that, I will use this one. It's in the Ultimate WordAs modding tool. It's free tool to download. Okay, so I'm gonna set up fade mode. This is I was explaining that, so we can keep for known now. Here, like in general, trees are not easy to simplify. You cannot simplify much. You can maybe bark. Probably will lose some piece of bottom pieces. Branches will disappear, but let's try to lower the triangles. So first I'm gonna do the test generation first. Okay, that. Let's try the poly counts. Okay, we have a 10,000, but we lost a lot of branches here on the LOD 0. We have 40,000, so we saved like we have a 25% of the original cluster. Go a bit higher. Yeah, not bad. Okay, so so we go to poly count and we have a 17,000 now instead of 41 and instead of 10 on the previous settings of the. I wonder, maybe you can go a bit lower. So once again, not much. So maybe that will make what, 13,000 now? Yeah, 13,800. And they still look like a tree. These look poor, but okay, this is our LOD. So okay, so going back to the group, I'm gonna drag the cooling. I'm gonna make this very close. We're going back here, and because it's a cluster, we have to play with the load bias. So if I go project settings, this all can be done with the script. I'm just doing manually. So in theory, I should see the cluster changing. Yeah. So let's say we are interested in these settings. In VR, it's gonna be it will work differently. So we have to play with that. Okay, so we have a kind of forest that looks pretty poor now, especially these branches here. But we have a low draw course. Triangles are much lower now. It's kind of still in range. Still too many, but we could use different tree. This tree had 5,000 triangles, so we can find some tree optimally. Like if you had the 1,000 triangles tree, I think it's easily possible to find the tree that will look kind of natural, realistic, and will have 1,000 or maybe less triangles. So all this what I'm doing should look better, should you should have less triangles. Watch the triangles anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna press the play and see how it looks like. So we patch some things. Very low draw course. Still a lot of triangles. And what's about GPU? 1.3. It's okay. Better than it was. I don't remember what was on the previous one, but it's not bad. And also, if you let's go back here. This also can be done with the light a lot. So like the basic thing is to do is just turn off the shadows. That will make it ugly, but in the evening time, for example, you don't need shadows. Especially like on the daytime, turning off the shadows is terrible because you see how it looks like. But if you have an evening, like after sunset or something like that, don't use the shadows, no point. And you see how everything doubles. You have 21 batches, so it's basically nothing now. I think it's mostly taken by terrain. So if I turn off the terrain, this was one batch for the terrain. Okay, so 20 batches on the trees. Triangles, not many, but we need shadow here. So what I can do, I can go to our LOD group, go to this guy here, and turn off the shadows, but doesn't let me do it because we have a progressive light mapper. So I'm gonna switch on to CPU, and now I can. So turn off the shadows on them. That should give me something, I think. No, it didn't. Okay. You can play with the shadow distance also. If you bake the light, you can change to shadow mask as well. That will save a lot, but the light has to be baked now. So I'm gonna decrease the, I think 50 is the default Wardust shadow distance. See how like triangles changing and the batches, but we lose the also visuals. Yeah, 70 is on the fantastic settings. Wardust settings. So this is what you would see in the game. You can force the shadow longer. I think it's 70. I think it's correct. But we have a lot of trees, so so here we can only save with the turning of the shadows. So yeah, combining, yeah, like you see the batches, the best. If you have a problems with the CPU, then do the combining. If the CPU is boiling too many draw cores, combining of the trees will do the trick. You will lose the wind, and also you will have a way more triangles, so it will cost the GPU might struggle then. So it's like it all depends how, if it's CPU bound or GPU bound. We could still improve here a few things, like we could bake the light basically, we wouldn't have to. You could bake the light of the you could bake the light shadows of the trees. So you can, for example, place something instead of trees, even cubes, to make the shadows. Or you can, if the trees have UV, you can bake them without baking on them. And to bake the shadows, but don't bake them, you have to go to the tree, to the mesh, you mark it as static, And on the light map static, 1 second, kind of, all right. I need to turn this on. Set the scale on my light map to 0, so it will not bake. It will not be baked, but their shadows will be baked. Okay, so that's another trick. And then you can turn on the once they are static, and if you turn on the shadow mask, that can be done with the script. They won't be taken for the calculation for the depth calculation, which makes triangles doubles. So this is another improvement you can do with the combined trees. What else? You can do the smooth fading as well, cross fading. Yeah, they kind of look pretty cool, especially here, the smaller ones. But it's all matter of tweaking. Yeah. So if you had I think if you had the trees which have a lower amount of triangle each, combining should do the trick. Sometimes I was using trees with the 100 triangles, so I could combine in one mesh actually the whole lot and without any LOD, and the performance was very good, better than the batching actually. So it all depends. Yeah, what else we can do? Okay, I'm gonna remove that. I think I'm getting tired. I have a few more ideas. Also, the video is probably what? Oh my god, 2 hours. Okay, that's enough. That's enough for today. So this was roughly. Oh yeah, I will show you the last one thing, because they are static now. I mean, they're not moving with the wind. We can do some trick here. If we go to the one of the, you can also, yeah, we can also separate them with the mesh kit to have a different objects. So that could also improve. Oh yeah, actually, I will show you something with the separation. But first, I'm gonna make the branches moving. Oh, some shader for that. It was actually, yeah, that was, yeah, I think this one. Okay, so this is very tricky shader, because it makes the even combined materials, meshes, even if they are static, it still makes them moving. Okay, but we lost our branch here. What was the texture? What was this one? Here leaves. Okay, so we'll go back to that shader. Vegetation. Yeah, simple will be the fastest. Well, we'll go for the Pro. Okay, so we have some bit too much specular, I think. Smoothness, yeah. I don't like, people overuse the smoothness. I hate this. Just doesn't look good. Okay, so you see, so we have a static trees actually combined, and they're moving pretty well. The good thing with that shader is you can do some noise here as well, so they will look even more natural. So you can do some autumn stuff, make the wind bigger. You can use the different noise, any noise will do, any texture actually. This is some fog noise, for example. See, sometimes they look kind of more natural, because in nature the tree, each tree is a bit different. They're not copies. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you, that you can make actually static trees, and they can be now static batched. So if I go to the prefab, where was our? I think it was in trees. That was, yeah, combined trees with. I can make it static. And I will disable completely GPU instancing. And I will check the actually performance. Okay, they didn't batch statically for some reason. I wonder if they did or no. Actually, I forgot about the second LOD. No, it's static. This one as well. Yeah, they didn't statically batched. Maybe because the limit, we reached the limit of the polygons. Yeah, they couldn't batch because each one was 41,000. Probably that was the reason. And I think they can batch up to 65 or something like that. So you couldn't batch one with the another because you were reaching the limit. But our performance, I think, is slightly bit better now. We have a bit more batches. If we go to GPU, I think we have a bit better GPU reading now. Before it was like 1.2, I think. It jumps to 1.5 for some reason, but it could be because we are on editor and not in game. Or this spikes sometimes. This is, I'm recording, I'm in VR, etc. So yeah, so you can also, sometimes it's good to try static batching and without GPU instancing. So if I enable instancing, then we have less batches now, more saved by batching, but maybe our GPU, yeah, our GPU is higher now, 0.2. We had, yeah, 1.2 before we had. So if I turn off this batching, yeah, kind of lower GPU. So yeah, it all depends. Watch the FPS as well. It's not reliable. I just wanted to show you option that you can juggle with the static batching and the GPU instancing, which is kind of basically similar idea, but one is done on CPU, the other one is done on GPU. Yeah. What else? There was one more thing. Oh yeah, colliders on trees. This is something I wanted to show you. If you wanna make a tree climbable, but you don't want to climb, you don't want to have a mesh collider on the branches because it's not good. So I'm gonna actually remove all of this and keep one. We don't need LOD anymore as well, so I'm gonna pull one of the LODs from here. Just an example how to do. You can do in one go for everything. So yeah, we have our trees. Could be one tree, could be combined tree. I'm gonna separate them. Where was it? Here. That will separate two materials. So we'll have a separately bark and separately leaves. So it's good if you wanna make a trees climbable. So if you have a lot of branches, like spruce is not, it's just a straight up. I'm not sure if the bark has any branches, but other trees might have branches, and instead of one capsule collider, which is in the middle and usually doesn't fit well. God, we have some mess here. Okay, sometimes it doesn't work well, because probably we had some mess with the combined object. So I'm gonna do on different example. I'm gonna do on this one. So let's go back to the mesh kit, but still, like you can separate anyways two materials not combined. mesh, but for some reason this one doesn't work. Sometimes it didn't work, sometimes it just doesn't. And okay, so did I separate this one? I don't know. The mesh kit, separate. Are you sure? Yes. So okay, I separated now. I'm gonna unpack that prefab. So I separate bark and separate leaves. This one is still active. So I'm gonna pull this out. They're not doubled. So now you add mesh collider to the bark only. Okay. So it has a mesh collider on it. Of course, it will be walkable. You can also have a forest with the separated, like what I did before, but with the separated. That's what I wanted to do, but actually I've noticed that it's already 2 hours over, so I didn't want to do it. But let's say I should create an empty, drag them here. So that's our tree that each has a one material. So now they should oh yeah, that's why they didn't batch the combined, because they had the 2 materials. They didn't statically batched. So now I can statically batched separately leaves and separately bark. Also I have a mesh collider on the bark, but I don't have a mesh collider on the leaves. So if I make a if I double them, doubling doesn't work. So I have to make. So for example, you have plenty of them. You can also try, like, yeah, have a forest full of the trees that are separated and try to combine them. Or combine only barks and leaves. You can barks usually are low poly, so you can have bigger clusters of barks and smaller clusters of leaves, and make LOD on the leaves only. You might have a better performance. This is another way, but I'm not gonna show you. But you should know what I mean. So let's say I have a full. This is my forest with the trees made from separated objects. And I'm gonna go to the modding assistant. I'm gonna extract the colliders. Make them walkable. Colliders from trees. I was showing you before on the modding assistant tutorial before, but I'm gonna show you how I use for the trees. So now we have colliders on the trees separately, so they can be walkable colliders, and these guys can be any layer you want. It doesn't matter. They will collide always anyways. Sometimes colliders don't match well because the bark have a wind on it, so it's a bit bent. So you can play with the shader to match the collider. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, definitely that's it. Because I can actually talk about these bloody trees till the morning. And you will know nothing at the end of the day. I think you have enough of everything today about the trees. That should give you a good start to build the dense vegetation in your maps. Yeah. Okay, bye bye.